in the clip. We just ain't letting them go yet. Like as far as
What's good, YouTube? We live. Today, I have a fellow Air Force vet, security architect, pen tester, host of InfoSec Unplugged, and founder of Alpha Security, the one and only Mr. Davin Jackson. What's good, brother?
What's going on? Thank you for having me. Happy to be here. How y'all doing today?
Man, good, man. Glad to have you to finally make this happen, man. Been trying to get together for a minute now.
Man, you know how it goes when we both working and got a whole bunch of things going on. You got to line up the calendars. You got to sync up right. But we here, so
We here. Shout out to everybody that's tuning in live. This live stream is going to be focused on cybersecurity and infosec. I've been getting a lot of questions around this area, and just being transparent, um, I'm not an expert or have a lot of knowledge in pen testing and things like that. That's not what I do. I'm a network engineer. I kind of stick to what I know, and I do my best to be great at that. Now, today I have somebody that's really diving in security, and he has a lot of knowledge. He's wrote a lot of blog posts. He has a YouTube channel where he's been linking up with some people that's really doing some big things in the industry. And today, Davin is going to share, hopefully, all the questions that you have, his answers and input on that.
yes,
So,
sir.
Davin, you want to talk about Alpha Cybersecurity? You want to get some background on who you are and what you're about?
All right, so we're gonna do the condensed version. So, like I said, I'm Davin Jackson, also known as DJax Alpha on Instagram and Twitter. I've been in technology now for, like I said, about 15 years. Cause a little, yeah, around the same time, a little bit around before my daughter was born. So, um, I've been in tech. Started off basically from the bottom, man. I started doing like showing my age. I've been doing this from like Circuit City days, doing computer repairs and stuff like that. Moved my way up to doing help desk. Landed a job eventually, um, for a school system, doing basically network support, system administration, and tech support and stuff like that. And that's where I kind of got introduced to security. We kept getting having little issues and breaches and stuff like that, and we were trying to figure out why that kept happening. So I started researching, vulnerability assessments and vulnerability management, and eventually that led me to pen testing. And once I kind of saw it and started to mess around with it, saw the challenge in it, I was hooked, and I haven't looked back since. So I've been doing pen testing now. I've been focusing on pen testing maybe about half that time, about 7, 8 years. I've worked for different companies doing stuff from consultancies or stuff with government contracts. I've worked for financial companies and other stuff right now. So I've been doing a lot of stuff like that, and then just wanting to kind of give back to the community, especially the people who kind of came up where I came from. Growing up where you had to be. It was looking like you was rich when you had a computer. Um, and growing up, I always knew I wanted to do something in tech. I like to tinker with stuff. Like my grandmother, God rest her soul, she used to just let me take her stuff apart as long as I could put it back together again, and I ain't get in trouble. By the time my parents came to pick me up, she was okay with it. And but when I got older, you fall into that. We If we're gonna keep it a buck, fall into that stereotype. The girls don't like the smart guy, and growing up in the hood, that wasn't a popular avenue to go. So between that, I just kind of turned away from it. Did some time in the military, came home, couldn't find my footing, couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, and it was actually my wife. Well, she was my girlfriend at the time, who just kind of really basically put her foot up my ass and was like, "Yo, what is it that you want to do? What is it that if you could do something right now, what is it that you think you would enjoy?" And I'm like, "Man, I used to love doing it was either something in tech or something in audio visual, and now come to find out I'm doing both." But But yeah, that she was really the one who just kind of put the battery in my back and was like, "Yo, let's go." So I started doing some research, started looking at certifications, um, grabbed as many as I could that would be beneficial to me. And I'm gonna explain that. I'm gonna probably go in detail with that later on, because my advice to people when I talk about it. But just to kind of give you the rundown. So now that I've done all of that and I've kind of gone through a lot of the ups and downs, I want to be able to kind of give back to people, you know, and explain to them, what works, what doesn't work, at least for me, and give any advice that I can. So that's where Alpha Cybersecurity came in. It's actually a blog site, and a content site where I just write about different experiences from books I've read, books I recommend, certifications, you know, my experiences, personal experiences, and then I also launched the InfoSec Unplugged video podcast where I talk to different people in the field and technology all over, from networking and cybersecurity, and just talk about what we can do to better the better the field, how we got to where we are. We share our journeys and we just kind of keep it pushing that way. So that was pretty much the long story short.
Appreciate that. Um, all Davin's contact information will be in the description. Actually, it's there now. And he did a top 10 books for all of you that want to learn to hack. Those are in the description now. And they got your Amazon links in there. So if y'all go ahead and purchase from there, y'all going to support Davin immediately.
Appreciate it.
So,
Actually, and there's another book I want to recommend that if you go check out the blog site, I actually just did a book review on this book right here. It's called The Pen Tester Blueprint.
yeah, I
Um,
saw that.
it's written. It was written by Philip Wiley and Kim Crawley, two amazing people in cybersecurity. Like Philip. Philip is. I don't like to use the term guru, but if there was, he'd probably be one of the people that I would put on that list of people that you should listen to when they speak. And Kim has written stuff and done malware research and stuff like that for numerous companies. So two people who put their heads together and they actually followed the model of another person who I highly respect and recommend, Marcus J. Carey, what he did with the Tribe of Hackers books. They went and got different people, pen testers in the field, to share their experiences. But this book right here is, even though it's not super technical, it kind of basic. It's literally a blueprint. It tells you exactly how to get started. What books you should look at. How to build a lab, how to gain the experience, what certifications you should get. And all of that. So it's literally a blueprint on how to get started. And then back to plugging myself. Yes, I do have my books here, and then I also have my YouTube channel where I kind of explain some of the hands-on stuff.
For sure. And all that's in the description, like I mentioned before. Shout out to Marcus J. Curry. Um, he's he's leading the way in many ways in cybersecurity. Much respect to him.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
now getting
Absolutely.
this thing started, one question that I would like to clarify immediately is what's the difference between IT security and cybersecurity? Can you kind of break that down?
Um, you know, I mean, I've heard that there's, people look at it differently, but to me, IT security and cybersecurity are the same thing. I mean, IT security is the process of, implementing security controls or to your systems and stuff like that. And cybersecurity is basically the same thing, protecting the data, protecting the electronics, protecting your devices. So they go hand in hand. So, I really think that IT security and cybersecurity, when you say those terms, that they're interchangeable because you can't have one without the other.
Hmm.
You can't secure the data without securing the devices, and you can't, and if you secure the devices, how secure are they really if you can still access the data?
Right.
So, that's just how I look at it.
Okay. I appreciate that. Now, when it comes to cybersecurity, you have many different terms. You have the white team, you got blue team, you got gray hats, black hats, all these different terms. Could you kind of break down those different domains for those that are new to it?
Right. So, when you talk about pen testers or hackers, there's usually three hats. that you put them in. You can have your white hats, which are your ethical hackers, which are technically what what you would do if you're working for a company, because you're doing everything with permission, right? The number one rule with pen testing as a profession is never do anything outside of your scope, or never break the rules of engagement. So you're doing everything legally, you're doing everything within the rules, within the scopes. So that's your white hat hackers. Your black hat hackers are your people who have malicious intent. So these are the people who are doing these different scams, or doing uh whatever it is, phishing attempts. A couple months ago when they had the Bitcoin thing on Twitter, where everybody was like, oh, click this link here and we'll give you some Bitcoin. That would be considered black hat. Then you have the gray hats, which are somewhat in the middle. So they're mainly white hat hackers, and they may use some black hat tactics, but they try to stay within the realm of a white hat hacker. So a lot of people don't like to say there's a gray area. They either say you're white hat or black hat. If I had to choose, I'd probably say I would tend to be more of a gray hat, because I feel like you need to learn these techniques to better protect your companies. And then you have something called like your nation state hackers. So these are the countries that are hacking other countries, or these are corporations that that aren't on the books as a legitimate team, but they're doing different forms of espionage, or hell, even what's going on right now with Russia hacking everything. And I won't say Russia, because they said it points to Russia as APT-29, which is Cozy Bear, which is a Russian team. But yeah, that's your nation state. So there's actually four, but if you're looking from a profession. Now back to what you were saying about like white box, black box. Now those are different types of assessments. Your white box or crystal box is when you're given all the information. So when you go in to do a pen test and you go to the client, they give you, all the network information. They tell you how many devices are on the network. They tell you which devices you can access. They tell you what system, what software, what versions you have. Basically, they give you everything and just tell you, now test us and be safe. That's your white box assessment, or crystal box. And then your black box is trying to simulate a pen test, or simulate an actual hack where you really don't have the information, so you have to go get the information yourself. This is where you kind of go and do your open source intelligence. So you're using your Google hacking, or you're basically getting any information you can get off of the internet, to get as much data as possible before you even start scanning the networks. And then you build up your information there to help build up your payloads, or whatever it is you need to find the vulnerabilities or find the exploits needed to gain access into the target system. White box, black box, and then like I said, then you have your physical pen test, where you're basically trying to essentially break into the building. So those are the ones that you usually come across normally.
Okay, I have two questions. My
Sir.
my first question is, how common is hacking? You hear about hacking, but how common is it?
Um, you hear the word hacking, so it's common because it's the sexy thing you see, right? You hear about what's going on, like I said, in the media right now. You hear about what happened, what may or may not have happened in 2016 with the election. You hear about different companies. You have shows like Mr. Robot, or the movie Black Hat, or the movie Hackers, which is like a cult classic. So that you'll hear the phrase a lot. What it actually is, the actual process of it, that's where it gets lost in the weeds, because some people will look at it like, oh, I pushed a button on a scan, I'm a hacker, or whatever. So I mean, it's popular um in different groups, right? You have kids who hack video games. You have people who root phones and access things, use the phones to access certain things. That's considered hacking. Um, you know, phishing attempts, that's social engineering, which is it falls in the family, but that's not necessarily hacking. So, I mean, like I said, it's very popular depending on what you do. Because the other thing is a lot of the tools that hackers use, there's a lot of automated tools. So then you have these things, you have these people who are basically they're known as script kiddies in the community, where they don't actually know the process. Hell, they might not even know what the tool does, but they know how to run the certain commands to make it run. So that's where it gets mixed up too. Because for me, I usually tell people if you're going to learn it and you're going to get the certifications, understand everything that they're asking you to learn. So if they're telling you run this Nmap scan, you should know what's happening when you say Nmap dash SV dash P dash whatever, right? So you gotta understand what's happening, because if you don't understand how to use the tool, then you don't know what's going on, or if you don't know why it works or why it didn't work. And then there's a situation where sometimes you might run across a pen test where they don't allow you to use tools, so you might have to make your own tools. So you have to, again, you don't have to. I know we'll probably jump in this later, but you might need to know the basics of programming languages.
Mhm.
I'm not telling you you need to be able to write a whole automated scanner in Python right on the fly, but you might need to know how to Google it and how to read the code to know that you're actually running a scanner and not installing a backdoor to your computer, because that happens too.
Man, you're dropping so many jewels already. Um, when it comes to when you said hacking doesn't happen all the time, one of the key
Mhm,
words that you hear is reconnaissance. How
mhm.
and you mentioned phishing. How often does reconnaissance happen? And can you kind of let everybody know what reconnaissance is?
So not to plug myself again because we're on your show, but
Plug, bro.
I actually
Plug.
I actually have I'm a huge I'm a huge nerd. Like I'm a comic book fanatic and everything, right? And I actually wrote a blog post that compared penetration testing to the Infinity Stones. So if you're familiar with Marvel and the and Thanos and the Gauntlet and how each gem had a certain power, but what made them powerful was when you linked them with other things, right? So you could have the other stones, but the power stone enhanced everything else, or the power stone would enhance the reality stone or stuff like that. To me, reconnaissance is the most one of the most important phases in the pen test, probably the most important phase. The reason being is if you don't do good enough recon, how will you know what's vulnerable? If you don't do good enough recon, how will you even know that you're hitting the right target? And again, the last thing you want to do is go off scope, especially if it's like a government site. They will lock your ass up quick because you imagine. I mean, think about it. They give you an IP address and you miss the IP address by one number.
Mm,
So instead of 192.168.1.10, you hit 1.11, and that's a completely different company.
right. I
Now
heard about that.
now you done ran scans on a bank, or you did something on a bank and took down their capability to process payments. Now you're messing with their money.
Right.
The last thing you want to do is mess with any corporation's money because they're gonna come at you. So this is why recon is important, because you need to know who and what it is you're doing, so you know how to bet so you know how to better effectively attack or gain access or whatever it is you're trying to do. So, like I said, so recon is absolutely important. And then for phishing or social engineering, that's everything, right? Because if I send you an email right now that says, let's say you're not a cat person, but I send you something like, oh my god, click this cat calendar. You're not gonna look. What the hell is this? You're gonna right. But now, and I use the term cats because I actually did this on a target, not trying to break NDA, but I basically found the information of my target all over social media, saw that she was like the ultimate cat lover, found out that a friend of hers, who was also a teacher, was also a cat lover. They were both friends on social media. I crafted up a nice little email that made it look like it came from the friend saying, "OMG, I got these great cat pictures."
Man.
She clicked the link, not knowing any better, and what happened is there was a payload for a keylogger on her in that link. So she thinks she's looking at cats, but now I'm getting logs back of things that she's typed. And what do people type? They type passwords. So now I don't need to try to guess the password. I just need to wait for, I know the time that everybody checks their emails in between classes. And now I just wait. Oh, look, now you gave me access to your email. Or look, you logged into this. And the other thing people do is they repeat passwords. So now your email password is also the password to another account. That's another account that could be access to a bank account. You never know. So this is, with recon, he or she who holds the information holds the power.
True story. True story.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of information, how do you get into cybersecurity?
How did I, or just how do you in general?
In general, for those that may be, so this is kind of like a two perspective question. The first one, for somebody that's brand new to IT, no experience, how do they get into cybersecurity?
With no experience whatsoever, I would say you would have to start with learning things outside of security before you learn how to secure them. Right. So, for example, I probably could have jumped to cybersecurity sooner, but my mindset was, if I can understand the ins and outs of Active Directory and Microsoft, then it'll make me a better hacker if I gain access to a Microsoft system. After I got my hacking certification, I got a forensic certification, because now I'm looking at what the forensics people look at during a hacking investigation, which makes me a better hacker. So I know what to avoid for the forensics folks. But if you're going to do it, to me, I think if you're going to start, I would say learn the basics of networking, right? Learn the difference between TCP and UDP. Learn you don't have to learn all 65,535 ports, but at least learn, the top 24, the well-known ports, the top 1024, the well-known ports. Learn what their defaults are. So, for example, 21 FTP, 22 SSH, 23 Telnet, 25 SMTP, and you got to know them like the back of your hand. Once you understand the basis of networking, the basis of subnetting, how a TCP handshake works, that whole process, then learn the basics of security. Not necessarily pen testing, but just security in general. So two certifications I would say is the Network Plus and the Security Plus. They're vendor neutral, and they teach, and they just kind of give you the broad scope of it. Then once you do that, now you can start venturing into specialties. So if you want to do CCNA or CCNA security or whatever, you can go that route. If you want to still venture into more security stuff, go ahead. Pen testing, get your CEH. Now, here's where I break off from most people, because most people tell you cert up, cert up, cert up. I would say get your Network Plus, Security Plus, definitely. Get those to start out. Then, if you're going to pen test route, get your CEH and then chill for a minute, right? Why? The CEH to me is basically the equivalent of the Security Plus, but with some pen testing questions. So it's a Security Plus, and from my understanding, the Security Plus has been changed where they actually bring in pen testing now. But I would say after the CEH, you don't have to spend a dime for the next 6 months. Right? Now it's all about doing your Googles, going on Google, researching different attacks, researching what the researchers say, read up on it. Like if you don't want to read, I don't know if you saw what I put on Instagram the other day with the Captain America doing the side eye, where because somebody said they want to get into cybersecurity, make six figures, but they don't like reading. And I'm like, well, you out of luck. But but like I said, doing that research and then getting the hands-on experience, because a pen tester is only as good as what they can produce. So you can be paper certified, you can have all the certifications in the world, but if you don't have the technical skills to prove it, you'll never get paid. You'll stay at a junior level, and no one wants to stay at junior level. The goal is to to get the bag. So you can create virtual machines using VMware, VirtualBox. I mean, if you're a Microsoft Hyper-V person, you can use that. And you can download a bunch of different vulnerable machines from VulnHub. You can download Kali Linux or Parrot Linux or whatever it is you want, and you can hack away at your own internal network,
Right.
your own virtual network, not your actual home network. But now you're gaining these skills, and you can look at Over the Wire, Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, Practical Pen Test labs, Pen Tester Lab, Pen Tester Academy. All these different sites that are basically allowing you to do hacking on their platforms and learn the skills without worrying about breaking scope, breaking the law, going to jail. And now you're building the skill set of what you need to know. After about 6 months of doing that, some CTF, some vulnerable machines, circle back around. Look, you can get the Pen Test Plus. I say that one because I think that's an up and coming one that's really going to be an industry standard very soon, if not already. The OSCP, which is probably the most popular hands-on cert to get. If you got the money or you have a job that will finance it for you or reimburse you, go to SANS, check out their GPen, and they got some great hacking certifications. eLearn Security. Then now you can get these other certifications. And now what did you do? You got your hands-on experience. Hopefully you're saving your money, because with the hands-on stuff, with everything that I just said, with all these labs and Google, you're not paying anything more than what you pay for already with your internet service and whatever you have on your computer. If you might need to up your RAM if you have a little bit of RAM, or up your hard drive, but what I do is I'll download three, four vulnerable machines at a time, hack the hell out of them. When I'm done, I delete them, download four or five more. And then what I did is I created a network inside of my own network at home. So now anytime I want to practice, I just grab my laptop, connect to that separate network, run an Nmap scan, and now I have all my machines because I have them constantly running. Right. Another thing you can do is you can install them into the cloud in AWS. So now you're essentially just hacking away on the cloud environment, and you're not worrying about your own hardware at home. But these are all things that you can do for free or cheap. And then once you get about, I say 6 months, just because there's so many things you can learn. You could probably do it sooner, but once you do that and you get the hands-on experience, I'm gonna be honest with you, if you can prove that with the certifications that you already have, sometimes you don't even have to get another certification for a while. But if you want to do it just to elevate yourself and to boost your resume, get the Pen Test Plus, get the OSCP, or get some of those other harder ones. Put that on your resume. Get into the interviews. And the other thing, I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling.
No, you good, bro.
The other thing that the hands-on experience helps, especially with pen testing, maybe not in a junior role, but mid to senior level pen tester roles, you're gonna run into people, whether they're like me and is legitimately want to make sure that you know what you're talking about, or you have the gatekeepers who are trying to keep you away from what they think is their bag. They're going to ask you questions, right? I had a kid who told me, "Oh yeah, web hacking's my shit. This is what I live for. This is what I do." All right, cool. Can you explain to me what SQL injection is? I'm not really familiar with that. Okay, well, if web hacking is your forte, like you said, you would know that SQL injection is the number one vulnerability on the OWASP top 10. And you should probably know how that works. I'm not asking you to tell me the difference between how to do a MySQL SQL injection versus a Microsoft, but you should be able to tell me what it is.
Right.
And I said, okay, well, what would you use Burp Suite for? He couldn't answer. Burp Suite is like one of the top two tools everybody uses with web pen testing. Why? Because it's a proxy. So you ask these questions because you need to make sure that the people that you're going to offer this amount of money to knows what they're doing, and that they can kind of do hold their own weight in a pen testing scenario. So that hands-on experience is crucial. That hands-on experience in research is crucial. Like I said, I tell people, the certifications get your foot in the door. They may even get you the job, but your skills is what's going to get your bills paid.
True story. Man, there's a lot to unpack from what you just said. Going back to the beginning, you said the foundation, before you even get into cybersecurity, you need to build a foundation.
Right.
Are you saying the foundation of that is networking?
I would say, I mean, if I'm assuming anybody, this is with the assumption that anybody who basically wants to get into cybersecurity already knows the basics of that you would learn from an A+ certification, right? So this is assuming ground level. Everybody knows what a computer is. Everybody knows what the difference is between hardware and software and stuff like that. In my opinion, for security, absolutely. You don't, like I said, you don't have to be a CCNA. Excuse me. You don't have to be a CCNA, or you don't have to be like the networking guru. But you have to have the basic understanding, the basic knowledge of networking, because you can't. Again, if I tell you I need you to, I know there's a vulnerability. There's a vulnerability in port 22. I need you to crack the password there. How will you know what protocol it is if you don't know the basics, right? How would you know that? Well, port 22 is by default SSH. Okay, so I need to run a scanner that is suited for SSH. John the Ripper can't do that, so maybe I can use something like Hydra. You know what I'm saying? So these are so yeah. Networking to me, like I said, I know some people who can do it. I've known some people who just I don't know how it clicks for them, because it just doesn't for me. But in my opinion, I would say you'd have to at least know the basics. You have to.
Right. Okay. The next question I have is, when it comes to cybersecurity, you mentioned the cloud. How does the cloud play a role in cybersecurity? Because you have, well, I'm gonna preface my my question. You have people that are really interested right now in the cloud and cybersecurity. So, is it possible to do both, or are they kind of different?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I would say once you understand the basics and stuff like that, the next step, that's the next phase of evolution to me, right? Is going to be cloud. Whether it's Microsoft, Azure, Google, AWS, Oracle, whatever, or whoever. Things are going to move to the cloud, and because things are moving a lot quicker, and things are going to move a lot quicker, especially with more and more breaches, you're going to have more and more people who are learning as they go. So learning to understand how to not only secure the cloud, but how to test is definitely beneficial. Again, you don't want to be that person who basically becomes obsolete, right? Like what good is having your MCITP or MCSA in Windows Server 2008 and when we're in 2020 going into 2021? So the cloud is definitely something that is, like I said, is going to be the next step. The person who can understand on-prem stuff as well as cloud stuff is definitely going to be a huge asset to whoever they work for. Like I said, and I'm right there with you. Like I'm learning some of the stuff as I go along. Like my 2020, I'm trying to clear all my 2020 slate, because 2021 I'm hitting the ground running with AWS and Google Cloud stuff and Azure. That's where I'm gonna go with it. I already bought a couple books. John Helmus actually just wrote a book on pen testing AWS. So that's where I'm gonna be going. That's where you'll see me next year.
I like the fact that you taking a proactive approach to make sure that you are keeping your skills tight and that you
You
leading the
got,
way.
like I said, you got to stay relevant, right? You got to stay relevant in the field. The moment you let it pass you is the moment you become. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Cybersecurity or technology in a whole is an overwhelming field already.
Yeah.
Things are moving a mile a minute. You got to stay on top of it. The moment you let something fall behind is the moment where you're going to become overwhelmed, and that's when the real imposter syndrome is going to set in, because now you feel like you're lost. I've been there before. Not trying to go back to that.
Man, I can only imagine what the imposter syndrome is like in. So I know what it is in networking, but can you talk about the competitiveness of pen testing?
So, I'm trying to figure out how far down the rabbit hole you want to go today. If we're just talking about cybersecurity and pen testing in itself, with no outside interferences, no politics and bullshit, none of the other negative stuff that comes with it, just the cybersecurity and pen testing as a whole. Yeah, it can be it's an overwhelming thing, especially when, let's say, you're struggling to learn something and you see people like, sometimes Twitter is the gift and the curse to cybersecurity professionals, because you can find someone who is of like mind that can help you. You can find your mentor. You can find someone who can give you advice or make you look at it in a light that you didn't look at it before. And on the flip side, you can look down there and see like 10, 15 people that are like, oh yeah, that's easy. I got it. And this is something that you're struggling with. And now you're like, I don't even belong here. Right? Like, why am I here? If I'm gonna keep it a buck, I mean, imposter syndrome comes with the territory. I've come to that realization. It just depends. Certain days is heavier than others. Hell, I have a little attack of imposter syndrome just sitting here with you, because I know that you're very professional and knowledgeable in what you do. Every Thursday, imposter syndrome sets in, because I'm like, who the hell am I to be interviewing these people? I had Mary Galloway on yesterday, and if anybody knows who she is, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I'm in my Oprah bag, my Barbara Walters bag. I'm like, I don't want to mess this up, because she's such an amazing individual. And then you get to talk to her and you just see she's just so down to earth. And it's like, and then that's when it brings you back, like, man, they're just like me. You're just like me. Marcus, I thought Marcus was unreachable, right? Marcus J. Carey. I thought this man was like S tier level. Like, I was like I'm on the hill looking up, and he hit me up. He joined one of my live streams one day and gave me advice. I was going through some things over the summer, and he hit me up and was like, yo, call me right now, and dropped his line. Now I have him in my phone. I can call him whenever I want. But tell me, if you told me this before, I'd have been like, this man has written books. This man has done this. He don't want to talk to me. Like, I'm just a lonely old pen tester. So you deal with it on a daily basis. What I've learned is you can't let what other people do dictate who you are, right? Like, you might look at somebody and go, man, this person's awesome. But guess what? You're awesome in your own right, because you got to where you are, not because someone handed it to you, not because you have a rich mommy or daddy, not because you knew somebody who gave a good word. Nah, you put that work in, you studied, you blood, sweat, and tears, sacrifice time from the family. So you deserve it just like anybody else does. And just like how they got to wherever they're at, it's possible, it's attainable. So you just gotta deal with that. Now, where it starts to get heavy is when you deal with all the outside stuff that come with it. And we can talk about that another time or later.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome is real. What I found in my career is that every level you go, you're gonna deal with it. Every time you do something new in this industry, you're gonna deal with it. And just embrace it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Look at all the things that you accomplished, and know that even though I had this rock in my gut, I was losing sleep, and I thought I was gonna get fired. I overcame that situation. So the next time you're in something that's challenging, know that you're gonna get through it. That's what
Right.
I believe.
I mean, for me, my most successful blog article to date is my article about failing the OFCP, right?
Right.
And if truth be told, that article I didn't want to put that article out. To me, that was more of a journal to me, like a letter to me to just get my feelings out, right? Because I needed to understand what happened. So for those who don't know, I'm gonna give the quick rundown. Like I said, the OSCP certification is a pen testing certification. They call it entry level, but I would say it's somewhere entry or maybe mid level, right? Because they have the OSCE, which is the expert one. So they call it mid level. So when I prepared for the certification, I also had just started a new job, and we had agreed that that I needed to get the certification sooner rather than later. So I gave myself 3 months, thinking it was just like any other certification. I'm gonna sit home a few hours a night, study, grind until I get it. Um, as I'm going through that process, so now think about it. You're starting a new job. School's about to start, so you're getting your kids ready for school. Basically your whole life is changing, right? So I'm studying for the certification. I'm working 10, 12-hour shifts, and logging off of work or coming home from work, try to spend a little bit of time with my kids, go to my son's soccer practices, go to my daughter's tennis practices, because I'm still trying to make sure I'm present in my kids' lives. Spend a little family time, come downstairs, study, do some labs. Next thing I know, it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. I got to be up at 6. Go sleep for 3 hours, get up, do it all over again. Now I'm doing this for 3 months. My body's yelling at me to stop, and I know it, but I'm telling myself I got to get it done. I gave myself 3 months, like you would have thought my life depended on it. And I knew I probably shouldn't have done it, but I did it anyway. And I tested, and I missed it by 15 points. And then the part that made it worse is when someone actually leaked the certification, the exam, and I missed it just because I was tired. I missed the 15 points. Because it was literally right there in front of my screen. I could have just pulled the password right there, but I was so stuck on it being something else that I didn't want to believe it was right there. But doing that, imposter syndrome set in, because it was like, you can't be a pen tester without having this and all of that. And and not only did it mess with me mentally, it actually, because of those late nights and not sleeping and all of that, it started messing with me physically, right? When your body's going to tell you when it's had enough, and whether you listen or not, when it's done, it's done, and there's nothing you could do about it. And I didn't listen, and like I said, I spent the next like 4 months, recovering. So, I wrote all of that out because I wanted that to be a lesson to me on what not to do next time. Right. And I kept saying, I was like, it was my birthday, and I don't know if I had something to drink or if I was just like, F it. And I was just like, I hit send. And I was like, well, let's see what happens. And next thing I know, I had like 3, like my mentions was sick on Twitter. And I had everybody who's who in the industry was just like, yo, salute, thank you. Finally someone said it. I mean, I had the people from offensive security call me. Man. And the dude was like, yo, I've never seen. And I mean, they took it like I was bashing the certification, but I wasn't that I was bashing the certification. It was just, I was just venting my frustrations. Yeah. About certain experiences. And he was like, man, he's like, yeah, on one hand, you're bashing my company, but on the other hand, he's like, I'm reading it and I'm rooting for you. So just to see, and off of that, they changed how they approached dealing with those same situations that I was dealing with.
Hmm.
So not only did I change, not only did I affect so many people who read it that related to it, I get a call from them and they're like, "Oh, you know what? We've been feeling this way for a while, but now after reading this, we know we really need to get the ball rolling. We're making some of these changes." So, you never know who it's gonna help, right? So, yeah, that is just, you think you're the only one, and you think that imposter syndrome is, and it is real, but it's refreshing to know that other people, are there with you. So,
Hey, it's power in like owning your truth, putting yourself out there and just owning it. Like whether you pass or fail, but it's especially failure because people that's really on that grind with you, they see the beauty in the journey. They see the beauty in the struggle, and they're gonna be right there to support you. So
right.
salute to that company for supporting you, and I think the fact that you did that made you stronger, made you more knowledgeable, and it gave you a foundation to build upon to help other people. So salute to you, bro.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it. I mean, I feel like it, like I said, God makes things happen for a reason, right?
Yep.
If I didn't put out that article and see how many people it affected, especially how many people look like me, that was like, yo, I, I'm just so relieved that somebody stepped up and said it.
Yeah.
Situations like that, or situations like, other uh live streams that I've done that may have rubbed people the wrong way or ruffled some feathers. If those didn't happen, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you right now. InfoSec Unplugged wouldn't be a show. Alpha Cybersecurity.tech probably would have got canceled. I probably wouldn't have renewed the domain. So things happen. Things happen because they're meant to happen.
True story. Hey, kind of shifting gears. Could you rank? I know in networking, you got the CCNA, you got the CCNP, and you got the CCIE at the top. Like that's the top certification, and you can go in that level to say, okay, CCNA is going to get you an entry level job, maybe even a mid level job, but the CCNP is going to put you at that mid level, and the
Mhm.
CCIE will put you at a senior architect level, right? What are the top three certifications that take you from entry level to mid level to architect, or I would say senior level in security?
Hmm.
Because there's a lot
So
of certifications in security. You know what I mean?
so speaking from a pen testing point of view, and I'm gonna say one, but I'm gonna preface it by saying that it's not the hackers or the pen testers who say this. It's the jobs, because that's the other factor that we need to touch on too. So the CEH, or if you have the foundation, right? So let's say you know the basics. If not, Security Plus CEH. Let's say that's your level one. Um. So, and then after that, I would probably say, your OSCP, your OSCP for mid level, and then there's a couple like your wait, I just thought about I forgot about eLearn security. So Security Plus, CEH, maybe the EJPT, the eLearn Junior Pen Tester certification, and then Pen Test is somewhere in between. I wouldn't call Pen Test entry level, and I also wouldn't call Pen Test Plus mid level, but it's definitely, I think Pen Test Plus is ahead of the basic CEH, not the CEH practical, but the basic CEH. I think the Pen Test Plus is ahead of that. So you have those, then you have the Pen Test Plus somewhere in between. Then you would move on to your OSCP certification, your G Pen from SANS, um, your ECPT. I think that's the one from eLearn. That's the next level up. And then like I said, and then if you want to get into some specialties, like for web app pen testing, you get your GWAP from SANS, or your OS, the wireless from offensive security. Offensive security also has the AWAE course for advanced web app attacks. Um, and then you would go to your OSCE, so that's like reverse engineering malware and stuff like that, and then that way. Now, that's how I would look at it from a pen testing standpoint if you needed to do it. I know people who have none of those and are better hackers than me. I know people who have all of those and they absolutely are garbage.
Right.
So it just depends. But one of them, like I said, the CEH, people cringe when I say CEH. And again, the CEH is baseline, CEH is foundation level, CEH is, like I said, the security plus with some hacking sprinkled in. But companies love that certification. And the name of the game is getting paid and getting a job, right?
Yeah.
So get a job or find a junior role, let them pay for you to get the CEH, because I'm not gonna recommend paying $900 for a certification that doesn't really help. But let them reimburse you or let them pay for it, get the CEH, and then build your skills up. But yeah, I think that's how I would look at it. And then once you move into like more, if you want to move into management stuff, then you can look at stuff like the CISSP. But that's now you're venturing away from the actual hands-on pen testing. But like I said, if you want to look at management or leadership type stuff, CISSP is definitely the next step up.
Dope. Now, for my veterans, shout out to all my veterans that may be watching and listening.
Yes. Salute.
Here's a question.
Yep.
Do you need a security clearance to get into cybersecurity? And then the part two of that, if you do have a security clearance, will it help you get into cybersecurity?
No and no. um okay, let me rephrase that. Depending on what you want to do in cybersecurity. So if you want to be a government contractor or a civilian contractor for a government agency, then yes, you need a security clearance. But to do, to work at something like a coal fire, or a consulting gig, or working for a company as one of their in-house pen testers, no, you don't need a security clearance. Like I said, it just depends on what it is you're doing. Most companies, their equivalent of security clearance is making you sign a shitload of NDAs. So, you know, so that's basically their security clearance. I haven't had a top secret clearance since I left the military.
Okay.
I think the highest I got like a public, I had to get like a public trust clearance, and that was to work with certain offices for the government.
Right.
So like I said, it just depends on where you want to go with it. You have some people who want to work for those three-letter agencies. So if you want to do that, yeah, you got to get it. It's absolutely crucial that you get it. You're not going to move up and make any decent money without it in that realm. But you can do it and be successful without it.
Okay. Thanks, man. We mentioned the top three entry level certification to take you from entry level to mid level to senior level. What
Mm-hmm.
are some entry level job titles for security professionals that are looking to get in the field?
Um, SOC analyst. That's a good place to start, because that will teach you a lot. That'll teach you how to look at some stuff from a networking aspect. That'll teach you how to look at, what certain scans are. You'll be introduced to certain tools. So SOC, like a entry level SOC analyst is a good place to start. A junior pen tester is a good place to start. Believe it or not, a network help desk. is a good place to start because again, the name for me, getting that networking foundation is important. So that's also beneficial. So there you could do that. Yeah, but like I said, I would probably say something like that, like a SOC analyst or a junior pen tester role are good places. Maybe even like a junior security analyst, where you're kind of looking at some of the stuff. You're not actually doing hands-on, so to speak. But yeah, anything like I said, analyst, SOC, junior pen tester.
Thanks, man. I want to say what's up to everybody in the chat and those of you that are just tuning in. We're here with Davin Jackson from Alpha Cybersecurity. All his contact information, it is in the description of this video, along with his top 10 book recommendations. So make sure you go check out his blog, follow him on Twitter, and follow him on YouTube. He does some great content around cybersecurity. He hosts the InfoSec podcast that he brings in some real heavy hitters in security, and he's a master at his craft, and he's really working hard to help others get into the field. So thank you, man, for the time you've been sharing here.
Appreciate that.
I want to get into some technical side of the foundational skills because I saw some questions around Python and Linux.
Mm-hmm.
The first question I want to ask is, how important is Linux in cybersecurity?
Linux is very important. If you're again speaking from a pen tester standpoint, the most popular hacking distributions are all Linux: Kali Linux, Parrot Linux, Arch, Black Arch Linux. Some people just download and install their tools to their Ubuntu machine. There are some tools that you can use on Windows, but mainly a lot of it is Linux. So Linux to me is just as important as networking, maybe even more, because again, you have to know how to navigate it because it's a different operating system. So, where you might be able to understand and navigate the directories of Windows like the back of your hand, Linux is different. So you have to kind of know the directories because you need to know how to navigate it if you need to access certain files. For example, Windows machines, their password files their password hashes or password files are usually in a SAM folder, or Active Directory is in the ntdis.dit file, that directory. Linux is different. Linux, you have your Etsy shadow and Etsy password files that you have to be able to grab to obtain the password hashes and crack passwords. So, I mean, again, it's little things like that that's why I said it's almost as important, or it's just as important, if not more important than networking. So yeah, Linux is definitely something you need to know. Again, pen testing. Getting access to a machine isn't the goal. Is actually what you can get from it. Like I could pop a shell on anybody's machine. It's what I do once I'm there. So if I say, okay, I gained access to your stuff, the first thing you're going to say is, what did you take? And I say nothing, and you're going to go, so what are we talking about? Right? You're going to figure it out, and you're going to whatever. But if I sit there and say, hey, I was able to get these documents, I was able to do this, cover my tracks, created a backdoor, made an account, now I'm showing impact. And again, that process is different. Privilege escalation is different in a Windows machine than it is from Linux. So you have to understand the differences between the two.
Nice. All right. The next question is around programming. So I love Python, network automation in the building.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it to learn how to code, and as a cybersecurity professional, and what language do you need to know?
So, and again, this is speaking from personal experience. One of my biggest regrets is that I didn't take programming a little bit more serious in the beginning. I was terrified of it. I thought I looked at it a couple times, looked at the books, looked at C, and was like, yeah, hell no. Not doing it. And I actually got pretty far in my career without really having to deal with it. And you probably still can. I know people who don't really know how to read a line of code. But if you're there to be good at it, if you're there to collect a check, yeah, you really don't need it, because you can find ways to bypass it or dump that off to somebody who can. And again, this is just my personal opinion. So, if there's anybody else in the chat or someone else that knows someone else that disagrees, this is just my opinion. Let me preface it by saying that I feel like, just like Linux and networking, I feel like understanding programming enough to read, read some code and understand what's happening is beneficial. As far as the language, I was able to understand Python a lot better than anything else, and I feel like once you kind of understand the basics of Python, you can translate them. There's differences between like a Python and a Ruby, or a Python and C, or Ruby and C, but at the core, a lot of it is the same. There might be some little different ways that they, send off their commands, but if you understand the structure of one, it won't take too much longer to understand the structure of others. Furthermore, like I said before, when working with exploits, sometimes you might have to take an exploit that worked on one machine, but you need to tailor it to work on the machine that you're targeting. So, for example, let's say I found an exploit that worked on Windows 7, but now I need it to work on Windows 10. There might be some shell code that I need to adjust to fit the signature of a Windows 10 machine rather than a Windows 7 machine. So you need to understand what's happening in this code to know where to put that in there, right, and how to tailor it. So again, understanding the basics, or know enough where you can then go to a Stack Overflow or wherever and ask the question. So someone who does know more than you can give you the right answer, and you know that they're not bullshitting you. Because like I said before, the other thing that you run into is you go on a website and say, let's say you're searching for an exploit for, like I said, a Windows 10 machine, and you find this link that says this exploit works 100% of the time, but you can't read code. So without inspecting it, without making sure that invalidating that it's indeed an exploit to work on a target machine, you just download it, plug it into your machine, and hit execute. Screen flickers, bloop, bloop, but nothing happens, or at least you don't think nothing happened. But now you done opened up all kind of SMB ports, and you done basically opened up a backdoor to your own machine, and that code actually calls back to the person who wrote it and says, "Yo, we got a sucker." and now while you think you're trying to hack somebody, you're the hacker getting hacked because they're running a backdoor on you. This happens. So that's another reason why you should understand what it is you're reading.
Man, that's cold. That's cold. Yeah, that's cold. Yo, that I can only imagine with people learning how many people have probably ran into that, in the field.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it happened. Put it this way, it happens enough where some of the classes that I have taken have literally put it in their courseware. Like, listen, please make sure you inspect the code before you download it off of this website or from that website. please make sure that the code is actually indeed what it says it's going to do, because we don't need it. I mean, someone showed us, an instructor showed me one time where it was literally commented in the code, where the dude wrote it in the comment. He commented it out and was like, ha 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 ha, stupid, whatever. And now I pwned you. Right. So yeah, you gotta know how to look at it.
All right. So since we're talking about code, DevOps, does that play a role in cybersecurity?
Absolutely. DevOps looks at things like software development, right?
Right.
And at some point, if you're developing a software, you're gonna want to make sure that it's secure. So your DevOps or your DevSecOps and stuff like that. It definitely plays a role in it. Sometimes it works hand in hand with pen testers. Sometimes it's on a different spectrum. But like I said, I think, again, the goal, just like I was talking about with IT security and cybersecurity, the ultimate goal is, no matter what department you work for, you want to make sure that shit's good when it leaves you.
Right.
Right. So the developers want to make sure that it's good when DevOps looks at it. DevOps want to make sure that they, before they put their stamp on it, before it goes to QA and all of that. And ultimately, when the pen testers go to test it before, it moves to the next phase of production, whether it's in, dev or UAT or prod or however they have it structured, that before they sign off on it is good. So DevOps definitely plays a role in it. Like I said, from the software, from the software development side of it. And then, like I said, you have your DevOps, your DevSecOps, or your security. Essentially it's the same thing. They want to make sure the environment is secure. So
cool.
I'm thinking, make sure I got everything.
All
yeah.
Right. Now here's a question. You did a video, and you may have talked about it before, but you had an opportunity to be a part of Share the Mic in Cyber, right?
Ooh, we gonna get spicy.
Yes. Now, before that event, you did a video about how you almost quit. Can you kind of talk about that?
I actually did the video the day of Share the Mic. Earlier that week, and for those who don't know me or those who follow me, everybody knows that I'm an open book, and I believe that if you put it out there, I'm from the old school, so if you speak on it, then you need to stand on it.
Yeah.
So I don't backtrack. I don't double back. I don't delete after my tweets. Everything I say, and if I put it out there, I own it, right, wrong, or indifferent. So take that as you will. Earlier that week, I had a situation that made me feel like it was dealing with some of the things I was talking about earlier when I said, you deal with cybersecurity as a whole, and it already has those difficulties, but the outside influences, the bullshit, the gatekeepers, the mediocre mats who think they whatever, the people trying to hold you back for whatever reason. I was dealing with a situation that was similar to that. And I mean, just and during that time, during the current climate, this was the height of the protests, the racial injustices with George Floyd and everything. So dealing with it, because I had I had an incident years ago that, I could have not been here because that was very similar to the George Floyd thing.
Right.
So everything was just bothering me at that time. And like I said, there was a situation at work where an individual just felt like they could say whatever they wanted to do and whatever, and they got away with it because of who they were. And that's not me. That's not how I stand. That's not what I stand on. So when I tried to go about it the professional way, and I was told to let it go, leave it alone, sweep it under the rug, whatever. And when I chose to pursue it, I started getting, basically there was repercussions for my actions. Because I was told to leave it alone, and I said no, I want to pursue it because I need it on record. Because if this goes another way, I need it documented that this is what led up to this situation.
Right.
And because of that, certain things went down, and I was just I between that and then just everything that was going on, I was done. How did and then with the Share the Mic and Cyber event, I had I had already made a prior commitment to do the Share the Mic and Cyber event as well as a couple other events. And again, I'm a man of my word, so I said I was going to honor my commitments, but then after that, I was done. So I did the Share the Mic and Cyber event, and at 5 o'clock, I went live and was like, "Yo, I think I'm gonna step away for a minute." You know, it's hard enough being working in cybersecurity and feeling like you may not live up to the standards that you set for yourself.
Right.
It's another to feel like you have to fight to justify your existence day in and day out just because of the color of your skin, your sexual orientation, your gender, your age, whatever. And I was just tired of it, man. I think I said in that video, we're taught, whether it's through the church, whether it's through our elders, sticks and stones, right? And love one another, turn the other cheek, and all of that. And I think I said something along the lines of, this skin has reflected a lot in my life. But what do you do when it no longer is no longer deflecting, it's now absorbing. So it's absorbing that negative energy, it's absorbing the bullshit, and now you're internalizing it. So I felt like I needed to step away. And actually in that time away, it actually brought me back because it made me realize I love what I do. I just don't love
The bullshit.
that comes with it.
Yeah.
So again, if that didn't happen, does InfoSec Unplug happen? Does me sitting here speaking with you happen? Because again, if I'm gonna speak on it, I'm gonna stand on it. And if I'm going through it, I can only imagine what the next person who's trying to come up with it, come up in this field, whatever, right? And if that's how I feel, then imagine how women of all colors feel, right? So now it's like, okay, be the change you want to see in the world. So InfoSec Unplugged, now we talk about our journeys, we drop gems, and we give advice. But I also make sure that whoever it is I'm talking to, be it black, white, whatever whoever it is, they can speak on it to a certain level where they say, okay, like I had Tracy Mayleaf, I'm sorry, InfoSec Sherpa. I had her on there where she talked about how she wants to do more. I had, like I said, Deira J. Footman, CCIE by 30, on there, who talked about her experiences, and she gave a powerful statement: leave nothing on the table, right? I had Ty Wilson on there who talked about his experiences. I had Jay Bizzle on there, John Breath. He talked about his experiences. Same thing. Like I said, I had Mary Galloway last night who also said, you're going to be tested. And before you fold, you have a reason to be here. So you take that negative energy and turn it against them and make it work for you. So, I try to make sure that I have people on there. Like eventually I'm gonna get you on, and it's also, not only do we talk about our experiences, we help try to motivate the people who might be listening. Right. So that's how that came about. So, it again, things happen for a reason. Like I stepped away. I took like 2 weeks. I was off Twitter. I didn't look at a book. I took down all my certifications, and I really sat back and thought, like, is this what I do? I really want to do this. And again, it goes with what I said earlier. Like, nah, I earned my spot. I earned, like, that CISSP you see up there. that just doesn't get handed out.
Right.
That doesn't get handed out to everybody. People like, what's the phrase? You wasn't shooting with me in the gym. Right? Like, you didn't drive 5 hours to Virginia because that was the closest ethical hacking boot camp, because you did that on your own dime because your job wouldn't back you. I did. These are all things that I did to get where I'm at, and I'll be damned if I let somebody push me out the door. So now, not only did I come back, I came back stronger, but now I'm building the next army with me, right? So now they'll know what to look for, because I didn't know what to look for. I didn't have a mentor coming up. So now I'm gonna tell these people who coming in, like, listen, stay the course. The plan is the plan. The mission is the mission. The goal is the goal. Don't let them take that from you. So they done created a monster.
Hey man, I could totally relate. I'm I'm not even gonna lie. On social media, like I don't look at my timeline. I follow people, and when have time, I check everybody out. But like you'll never see me scrolling through my timeline because it's energy in that. And when you got a plan and you working on your plan, you don't need no distraction because the littlest thing get into your mind and it just totally knock you off course. And I'm real big about my mind, my energy, and what's important to me. And so it's my work, my family, and my work. Don't nothing else matter. You feel what I'm saying? So it's all about the grind.
Yep.
Man.
No, I definitely agree 100%. And social media and YouTube, like those are the two black holes. Those are the two biggest black holes. And then again, especially in this day and climate, with everything, with 2020 just being 2020, it's easy to kind of fall down those rabbit holes. But like I said, you got to stay focused. You got to stick to the plan, and just remember that you have a goal. As a matter of fact, everybody I talk to, whether it's through InfoSec Unplugged, people I mentor, people who just ask me about getting into cybersecurity, the first thing I ask them is why? And if you come to me first and say, oh, well, because I heard, you can get the bag or you can get paid, or, I heard that it's popular, I'm gonna look at you and say, come back when you have a stronger answer. And the reason why I do that is because you're going to have those nights where it's not enough. Like when I said I was going to walk away, let's be clear. I do okay for myself. Right? Not to get anybody counting my money, but I'm good. I'm okay. Right? I'm not where I want to be, but I'm comfortable. Right? My bills are paid. My kids are good. There's a roof over their head. The lights stay on. I ain't got to worry about where the next meal's going to come from. So to me, that's good.
Yeah.
Like I don't need a bunch of zeros in my account. It'd be nice, but it's not like a necessity. So I do okay for myself. But there are going to be days where it's like, yo, that's not enough. The money's not enough. The sexiness of saying I'm a hacker, that's not enough. The pop, whatever clout you think you get with it, it's not enough. It's not enough. So you have to have something that's going to get you through those times when you're dealing with the BS in the field. You fail an exam, you're tired. Hell, when I got into tech, I was still fairly young. So my boys were still out clubbing and all of that. I'm home. Everybody's outside. I'm in the house. Nah, I can't. I got to do this. Instead of buying the next video game system when it first come out, I'm investing in books and tech and stuff like that to learn how this stuff works. So now while everybody's out here playing the Miles Morales and the PS5s and all of that, I'm reading up on hacking cars. So, and then, like I said, there's going to be nights where you're sitting there and you're going, what am I doing this for? Man. So your why has to be stronger than just, than shallow things. You know, it could be your family, it could be whatever, but it needs to be strong enough that when you feel like you can't take it, you remember your why, and that gives you that, whether it's that extra hour to study,
Yeah.
or that extra boost of energy, or that extra dose of discipline you need when you see everybody else out here living it up on social media. No, you got to remember your why.
True story. Remember your why. Great message, man, and great interview. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you one last question. If you
So
could do it all again, would you? And if so, where would you start?
um yeah, if I could do it all over again, I most certainly would. Especially now, as opposed to 12 years ago. um when I decided I was going to make the move into cybersecurity, I didn't know okay, I shouldn't. I was gonna say there weren't those resources, but let me say I didn't know of the resources. Like, I don't think that information was as accessible on YouTube and Google and Twitter as it is now, right? Like, you can literally Google how to hack, and you're brought in front of hundreds of article blogs, YouTube channels teaching you different things. So I absolutely most certainly would do it over again. I think what I probably would do differently is I probably would make the jump to cyber a little bit sooner, maybe a year or two sooner than what I did. Um, to me, that's I think that's one of the things I regret, that I waited too long, because and I guess that goes to imposter syndrome, right? You want to make sure you're always at your best and whatever, and um, it wasn't until later that I felt like the only way to do it is to do it, right? You're never going to learn how to do it if you're not in it. And there's no bigger motivator than being there in the moment. Now there's a difference between being in the moment and faking it till you make it. Faking it till you make it, I'll never sign off on that. But being in the moment where it's like, okay, this is the technologies that we're facing. I need to know how to secure it or how to test it. Now I'm gonna go do the research, right? I To me, I would have that's the only thing I think I would have done differently. I think how I approached it. Oh, the other thing that they have now that they didn't really have back then is you can go to college for cybersecurity. When I was looking at school, going back to school, it was all computer science. And remember, I told you I was terrified of coding. So I was like, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm just going to do this, right? So now you can go to school for cybersecurity. Hell, you can transfer your certifications for college credits at universities now. So I think it's definitely easier and more accessible and more attainable now than it was 10, 12, 15 years ago. But like I said, I don't like, I don't, let me think. No, because I took my, I took my mentality from a prior life, and that's how I built myself up. Right. I saved $200-300, went to my boss, and basically got him to sign off on saying that he would reimburse as long as you passed. He never said how many. He never said how many in a year. He just said, I just got him to give a blanket statement and put it in writing. So what do? I take that $300 and I buy some books and I buy a Microsoft exam. Study for like a month, 2 months straight, test, pass, boom. Hand the paperwork that said I passed, he reimbursed me. Now I take that same $300. I don't pocket it. I don't do nothing with it except go back and now buy the next certificate. And I did this 6-7 times in like the span of a year, right? I did it. So every other month I'm going back, boom, 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 boom. And now I knew. So now you start to see they're getting sick, because now they're like, we're shelling out all this money. So now what I'm doing is now every time I get a little pay increase or every time I get a little bump here and there, I'm still living like I was making X, even though now my salary is Y, I'm still living down here. So now all of that, I'm saving all of that. Reason being is because when the time came to say I want to go get my ethical hacking certification and go to a boot camp, they said no. They were like, we're not backing this. We're not doing this. By that time, now, okay, cool. Now I got $3,000 in my bank. So now I take 5 days off from work, drive down to Virginia, and I sit for a week, and I'm taught by Keytron Evans, who, if you guys don't know, he's amazing at what he does. He teaches at the InfoSec Institute, and I think he has like 4 different companies right now that are all cybersecurity related. And he's a black man. Like, that was my first motivation. I walked in there, saw him, and I was like, okay, I'm not alone in this world, right? But that's how you got to approach it, right? You got to take advantage of some of the things that they give you and some of the things that they may have not paid attention to. And I did that, and I hustled it, and I flipped it, and kept doing it until I couldn't do it no more. And like I said, eventually, now here's where I'm at. Like I said, I think the only regret I would have, like I said, I probably would have did it a little bit sooner.
Man, you dropped so many gems. The fact that you were able to save that money and flip it, and then, didn't get the bag and elevate your lifestyle with the bag. I think a lot of people need to understand that, because if you put in the type of work that Davin put in and that many others have put in to get to where they are, one of the things that's going to come with that is the bag. And the more work you put in, the more that bag is going to grow, especially if you're growing not just your technical skills, but your interpersonal skills and building your relationship. You're going to get the bag. Now, managing that bag and not putting all your A's in one basket with IT, that's important.
Right. Now again, this is where that discipline and remembering your why, right? Because there were plenty, I'm not gonna lie, there were plenty of J's that I wanted to get.
Yeah.
Right? There were plenty of Jordans that I wanted to get. There were plenty of games that I haven't gotten. There were plenty of whatever concerts that I've missed out on, right? But you got to do it. And now I'm not to bash nobody, but some of the people that I came up with who couldn't understand it then and came up with all these different excuses as to why I'm not coming out no more or whatever, you forgot where you came from, you left the block, whatever. All right, cool. Now, I won't say that it's paid off. Again, I'm not where I want to be, because that's just me. I always feel like I look at the next goal before I'm even done with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, I'm in a different position now where, again, I can have these conversations. I mean, just look at the fact that we can have this conversation right now, or the things that I just said about the biases and the bullshit that come in cybersecurity, right? We can have this conversation. Why? Because we've established ourselves and we're good in our footing. You have people who come up who can't speak on it because they're out of fear of losing their job. Right? I'm not saying that I wouldn't be sick if I lost my job tomorrow without something to land my feet on, but I know my experience in these certifications and my technical prowess, I'm gonna land on my feet fairly quickly.
Man,
and I might even land in a bigger bag than the bag I have right now if I play my cards right. Man. So it's all about securing yourself. So sometimes you gotta be a lion to be the sheep that you really are. And when I say sheep, I don't mean it like punk or nothing like that. Sometimes you gotta move like a lion. So you gotta be fearless. You gotta be, you gotta be aggressive. You gotta be whatever at what you want, so you can live comfortably, like the sheep do. The sheep ain't got no worry in the world when you see them in the farm, right? But sometimes, and when it comes to my family, to them, I'm a teddy bear, I'm a sheep, I'm daddy, I'm a husband. But out here, I'm a monster. And that's just how, that's just how you got to move. But everything that I've done afforded me to be able to do that now. So, we got to, as a people, we got to stop being, having short memory spans. And this is not just with tech, with everything, right? Look at the protest. I mean, we kept applying pressure this year. That's the only thing that's different from years past. But you can't forget, you can't get comfortable, can't get complacent, especially coming from, like I said, I don't know to speak on anybody else, but coming from where I came from, the last thing I want to do is be complacent, because I'm never going to go back to that.
Man, you ain't going back. I ain't going back.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, remember your why, remember that discipline. And like I said, all the other shit will come. Case in point, I don't know if you can see it, but all those video games I didn't get, you know what I did? I built a computer and I built my own little arcade machine. And I may or may not gained access to a bunch of different video game files. So now when I want to feel nostalgic, I can play anything from Atari onto to PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, right? All of that other stuff will come back around. It's all about securing your footing and securing your family first.
Man.
And that's how I'm gonna leave it.
True story. Them J's you want, they're gonna come back around.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Hey man, this was a really dope live stream. Thank you for your time. Thank you to the moderators and everybody that's tuned in. I know a lot of people put questions in the chat, but I appreciate everyone that was helping out and answering those questions. And if we didn't get to your questions, make sure that you go subscribe to Davin's YouTube channel. Check him out on Twitter. Check out his blog. He puts out a ton of great content. And also look for his books that I put in the description of his top 10 books for you to learn hacking. Davin, you want to take us out for tonight?
Listen. Well, for one, I saw someone in the comment. I believe it could be somebody else. But someone said they were getting their CISSP in 2021. Like I said, it's the monster. Stay focused. Download the CISSP Sunflower. It's a series. It's a bunch. It's like a packet of study material. And use that to help you, especially when you're studying that last week. Look up stuff online. Cybrary has a great CISSP course that's absolutely free. And when you pass, because I'm not going to say if, because again, it's all about positivity. When you pass, go on brighttalk.com, register for an account, and make sure you watch at least one or two of them videos every week, because the last thing you want to do is let that certification lapse and take it all over again. So you go to Bright Talk and you get CPE credits towards recertifying, and you pay, I think, $125 a year for your fee, your membership fee. But the membership comes with a lot of stuff to help. The membership comes with free training that'll also then give you CPE credits or CEU credits for the certification as well. Now to close out the show, again, I want to thank you, brother, for inviting me. Like I said, I gotta have you on InfoSec Unplugged at some point. We gonna get it right in 2021. Thank you to everybody who's here. If I helped out anybody in any way, that's what I'm here for. I'm glad. If you agree with me or don't agree with me, it is what it is. I still respect you nonetheless, and just as long as you respect me, we can keep it mutual. Remember your why. Stay focused. Stay driven. Don't let the outside influences mess with what you got going on, and stay true to yourself, and never compromise your integrity. You follow that, you'll be golden.
Never compromise. We'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.